to leave now. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to start off by explaining an incident that occurred in July 2016 in Minnesota. Philando Castile, his partner Diamond Reynolds and their 4-year-old daughter were driving late at night. A police officer pulled them over for a routine stop to question them as to why a brake light wasn't working on their car. Officer Yanez asked for Castile's licence and registration. While Castile made it clear to the officer that he was carrying a firearm, Officer Yanez asked him not to reach for his firearm, to which Philando Castile shouted, saying that he wasn't going to reach for it, he was just getting his licence and registration. Yanez shot Castile 7 times while his partner was sat next to him and his 4-year-old daughter in the car. Immediately in the aftermath of the shooting, his partner Diamond Reynolds live streamed on a Facebook video and made it live about the events that then happened. So this video will be now played.
Stay with me. We got pulled over for a busted tail light in the back. And the police just, he's covered. They killed my boyfriend. He's licensed, he's licensed to carry. He was trying to get out his ID and his wallet out his pocket, and he let the officer know that he had a firearm and he was reaching for his wallet, and the officer just shot him in his arm. We're waiting for a backup. I will, sir. No worries. I will. He just shot his arm off. We got pulled over on Larkiner.
I told him not to reach for it. I told him to get his hand out.
You told him to get his ID, sir, his driver's license. Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead. Please don't tell me my boyfriend just went like that. Yes, I will, sir. I'll keep my hands where they are. Please don't tell me this, Lord. Please, Jesus, don't tell me that he's gone. Please don't tell me that he's gone. Please, officer, don't tell me that you just did this to him. You shot 4 bullets into him, sir. He was just getting his license and registration, sir.
Get the female passenger out. Far away down with your hands up. Keep your hands. Hey, get down. Keep them up. Keep them up.
Where's my daughter? You got my daughter?
Face away from me and walk backwards. Keep walking. Keep walking. Keep walking. Keep walking. Get on your knees. Get on your knees.
So this live streamed video that Diamond Reynolds made in the aftermath was shared and spread across various media platforms. So it went all over Facebook, all over Twitter, all over the media. As this video became so widely recognised, it sparked influences in artists to create artwork as a result, as a form of portraying the questionable and unjustified acts of this shooting. So this first piece was created in collaboration with Diamond Reynolds. The artist approached her after seeing the live stream video and wanted to work together with her to create a counterpart to her video. This is black and white 35mm silent film that was created by the artist and Reynolds as a respite for Reynolds from the media frenzy that engulfed her. The 4-minute film was shot of Reynolds from the waist up, stood in a statuesque position, showing the only subtle movements of her lifting her head. A consciously planned performance by artist and Reynolds to show the contrast of her own video to this silent film. This piece, a large-scale painting, was displayed in an exhibition in New York. This 8x6 foot work is based on the video that Castile's girlfriend, Diamond Reynolds, captured in the aftermath of the shooting and live streamed to Facebook. Castile is shown in the foreground, lying still in his seat, eyes wide open. In the background is Yanez's arm, gun and a bit of his torso. There is an undeniable link to the video streamed by Reynolds and this piece that was created. On the pieces of paper that I've given you, I would like you to write down which artwork you believe has been accused of being exploitative and inappropriate, as well as using the strategy of cultural appropriation. Image 1, the first one, or image 2. Please, could you do that now? There is no aesthetic reason that one of these artworks are subject to protest and criticism. The difference lies in the colour of the skin of the artist. One artist is white and the other artist is black. So, cultural appropriation has been going on for centuries, and many of the world's most celebrated art movements and objects are the result of it. Greek sculptures, and particularly their freestanding life-size nudes, clearly show the influence of Egyptian art. The Romans appropriated large amounts of Greek culture, and so on. Fast forward to the 20th century, and great artists, including Picasso and Matisse, formed modernism out of appropriating other cultures, art, crafts and artefacts into their revolutionary practice. Alfred Barr's flowchart for modern art, it shows the notion of taking art forms from other artists and cultures played a defining role in creating modernism. Is this a case of Thompson using cultural appropriation in a positive way? That he has helped Reynolds' experience be represented in an art form and as a platform for her story to be heard? Or has he created art that exploits this person's experience because he is from a more dominant identity group? So Luke Willis Thompson, he is a white male. When you break down the definition of cultural appropriation, it states the unacknowledged or inappropriate adoption. Well, in defence of this accusation, Diamond Reynolds, the subject of the film and whose experience that it was, worked in collaboration with Thompson, therefore being entirely aware that this piece was being created. And while the artwork was in production, he had discussed the entire piece with Reynolds, and they wanted to create something that was a counterpart to the original live-streamed video that Reynolds posted. Thompson has used creative influences to imagine the experiences of Reynolds to produce his own artwork. Nevertheless, has he taken advantage of the power imbalance between himself and Reynolds in the name of creating art, exploiting the incident that occurred? I would also like you to write down your thoughts on whether it is appropriate for a white person to create art based on the experience of that from a marginalised identity group. I would also like you to write down a short explanation as to why you think either way. When I initially started this investigation into cultural appropriation and looking at cultural identities, a peer said to me, "Why am I exploring race? Do you have an adopted black brother?" And in this instance, I began questioning myself, because do I have the right to speak about race? Have I ever needed to consider the experience of black society? And is it appropriate for me to make race the subject of my art practice? Identity politics and segregation within society is a timely debate, and even with social movements that have occurred and are still active, the civil rights movement and the Black Lives Matter, we are still bound with a divide in society. The privileged still maintain their positions. The idea of the white supremacist society still exists, meaning a racial hierarchy. This is a system that still focuses on the idea that some racial groups are more superior to others, in this case white people. Are we one still continually producing power hierarchies because we are in this privileged position and can take the idea and experience of other individuals from a marginalised identity group and use this to profit and gain credibility as an artist? Cultural appropriation is a term that is considered harmful because of the power imbalance from a dominant culture to a minority culture. In this case, white society over black society. It is suggested white artists steal the ideas and experiences from this marginalised culture. However, the underlying issue of cultural appropriation in artwork relates not to the aesthetic of the pieces, but the identity of the artist, the colour of their skin. It has become apparent that the questions regarding cultural appropriation are, who has the right to talk about who? Keenan Malik, a writer for the Art Review, has made a statement. What is really being appropriated, in other words, is not culture, but the right to police culture and experiences, a right appropriated by those who license themselves to be arbiters of the correct forms of cultural borrowing. Such policing is deeply problematic, both artistically and politically. It deadens creativity and it assaults imagination. The importance of imagination is that we can take ourselves beyond where we are, beyond our own narrow perspectives, to imagine other people's, other worlds, other experiences. Without the ability to do that, both artistic creativity and progressive politics shrivel. The case that art should only be made by the people from that identity group is surely an example of segregation within society. It should be seen as a positive element, not to shy away and censor aspects of art because of the identity politics, which would therefore encourage solidarity. We can both be aware of the potential problems whilst also being open to the positive aspects of cultural intermingling.